This short 10-minute episode is going to allow you to get ahead of 90% of people looking to change their physique for the positive in 2024. The internet is full of the right things to do when it comes to losing body fat, losing weight, and shaping up. Get your 10K steps in, eat mainly a whole food diet, get plenty of protein, resistance train, and get to bed on time. Now, the unsexy truth is, about 80 to 90% of you watching this video have heard all that advice before. And whilst it's correct and it can move you forward, you do need to ask, what is the gap between knowing that information and actually doing something about it? And why would 2024 be any different from some of the past successes or indeed losses in which you've had with your own fitness, physique, fat loss, and indeed muscle building journey? You see, if we now look at the typical journey of what normally happens, especially this time of the year, come January, fresh start, all that good stuff, it typically looks a little bit something like this. The first thing is that there's been an efforts moment. There's been a paradigm shift. There's been a pivotal change whereby said person goes, do you know what? Enough is enough. You've reached 10 out of 10 on the pissed off scale. And that is when we are forced from the pre-contemplation stage of action into actually doing something about our fitness goals. And that could be a photo being taken in which you didn't like at the Christmas table. That could be a glance at yourself in the bathroom mirror. That could be the fact that you've tried on your favorite pair of jeans, which no longer fit anymore. It could be anything. Maybe someone gave you a comment which wasn't so nice. But from there, we embark on our fitness journey. And actually, it goes pretty well for that honeymoon phase. Let's be honest. You pick your trainer, you pick your app, you pick your workouts, whatever it may be. And actually, we're quite consistent with doing the do come the first few weeks, or for a lot of you, even a few months. We then pair that with some diet strategy. And actually, now we're off to the races. And we actually lose 5, 10, 15 plus pounds worth of body fat. And you actually start feeling better. But then what happens after this? We get so caught up in life that actually our goals just kind of fall by the wayside. Work gets super busy, home life gets super stressful. All of a sudden the socials really pick up. You're on holiday, you've got a deadline, whatever it may be. And all of a sudden it becomes very, very hard to pick right back up with those healthy habits, which you've done such a good job of cultivating over the past few weeks. And in fact, the more that this cycle happens, it gets harder and harder and harder to pick back up where you left off. And actually you can start to feel the amazing progress in which you might have made slipping away. Now that could be because, as I say, life's got a little bit busy. It could be because the actual way in which you chose to get the job done was unsustainable in the first place, or it might be because you haven't reset the vision and now you're simply out of pain and everything's actually feeling all right and the jeans do fit, but actually you haven't solidified any progress and you haven't really broken through any glass ceilings of where you want to get through next. And so inevitably we fall right back to square one. And that either happens very rapidly if you're crawling over the finish line and you've done something really stupid like only supplements and water fasts and, veggie shakes only, or over the course of many weeks and many months, and we blame work and we blame other circumstances. But the reality is, the black and white, hard, cold truth is that we are now at best in the same scenario as what needed us to raise our hand and do something different and change our life in the first place. But actually what normally happens is we get a little bit heavier, we get a little bit higher in body fat. And this phenomenon is literally called body fat overshooting, because every single time that we try, we fail, we try, we fail, we get a little bit higher in body fat, metabolism gets a little bit more suppressed, we lose a little bit more lean mass, and actually it gets harder and harder and harder to actually get the job done. Now, all this happens and you look back and you're like, what a load of wasted time, effort, energy, and progress. What was the point in all that? I may as well never have started. Now, this might sound like bleak listening, bleak watching if you're watching this on YouTube. But the fact of the matter is that I've been in this game long enough to know that that is exactly the paradigm. That is exactly the circle of events in which happens, and it starts in January. So how can you be different? How can your journey be different? Why would it be any different to anyone else? Because, hey, all it takes is a small look at the stats, the facts, the figures when it comes to setting New Year's resolutions or goal setting for the new year ahead. And they're pretty bleak. If you actually look at how many people are successful long term, not just short term, with their body shape change goals when it comes to new year, new me. The last time I checked, it was something like a 97% failure rate, which is absolutely wild if you think about it. That is not something in which you want to be a part of. And I'm going to give you 5 key core things in which you can implement as of right now to set yourself up for the very best 2024 moving forwards. And so you can be part of that 3% who actually succeed in the long term. Now, for those of you that are new to me and my channel, my name is Sharif Lawton, guiding men and women in their 30s and their 40s to an absolutely incredible physique upgrade while still maintaining a very healthy social, work and family life to make sure that the plan complements all of that stuff in which you've now got going on rather than complicates it in a way which you can maintain for the long term. I'm not interested in a fancy before and after picture. I'm really after the after picture, making sure that the education is set and we get results for life rather than just now a 6 to 8 week period. So listen, pen and paper at the ready. We're going to go through the first 5 points, which are going to really turbocharge your results and solidify the progress and ultimately allow you to do something different in 2024 to get a very different outcome. Now, the first point, if we consider that if you were to nail your nutrition on a day-to-day basis, if you were to go to the gym, if you were to sleep your 7 to 8 hours, if you were to manage your stress appropriately, if you were to eat a whole food diet and you did that for 24 hours and you went to bed, what happens to your physique the next day? Absolutely nothing. What happens if you do it again? Absolutely nothing. What happens if you do it again? Absolutely nothing. And it's not until we rack up these wins over and over again, and I'm talking weeks and months, that we start to see the fruits of our labor. We start to see the fruition of our hard work. Now, that being said, most people are so focused on being perfect and how they can make their good days perfect rather than actually protecting the downside and making their bad days less bad, because they haven't realized that this whole game is about consistency over perfection. Now, you might have heard that phrase before, but let me drill it into you, because my best clients, the ones inside 23 Lean who get the very best results, please believe they are not the ones who are the most robotic. They are not the ones with no social life. They are not the ones who just hit it all the time. They mess up. They don't hit their numbers all the time. They make sure that they still have a great social life. They are potentially missing workouts. They're not hitting their steps all the time. But actually, if you look at their progress and if you look at their habits across the board, they're exactly where they need to be. And a very easy way of knowing if you're being consistent rather than focusing on being perfect is just looking at the metrics in which you're looking to hit on a day-to-day basis. And again, that could mean steps, protein intake, training and sleep. Just use that as an example. You want to look at a calendar and you want to give yourself a little tick every single time that has been achieved. And you want to give yourself a little bit of a cross every time a couple of those metrics didn't get hit. And super simple. If you can look at a broader spectrum of time rather than a day, rather than a week, I'm talking at least sort of 30 days at a trot, and you can really see visually, listen, I've got more ticks than I've crossed. I guarantee you, you're on the right path. I guarantee you, your physique will change. Now, what most people do is they are good Monday through to sort of Thursday, and then they self-sabotage hard Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And if we consider that's about 42% of the week lost, you're essentially trying about 50, 60%, but you're looking to get an A grade result, which isn't going to cut it. So just be honest with yourself. Are you being consistent, or are you just focusing on the 1 or 2 perfect days in which you're having, and then you're wondering why you're not really getting those results? Really, really harness the emotions, really harness the leverage, and really harness the mindset of consistency over perfection in 2024, and watch where it takes you. Which brings me really nicely to my next point. It is inconceivable to think that throughout 365 days of next year, you're going to be perfect with your plan. There's going to be no meals out. There's going to be no missed training days. There's going to be no injuries. There's going to be no travel. There's going to be no life throwing you curveballs, which we know it's very good at. And ultimately, you have to make sure that you're getting back on track faster. Because in the scenario that I described originally, if said person had literally got back on track faster and hadn't let themselves slip down a slippery slope, then ultimately we don't have a massive mountain to climb and we can get back on track faster. You see, I speak to people every single week and they say things like, Sharif, it's like I put on 2 stone overnight. I don't know what happened. I'm here to break it to you that no one puts on 2 stone overnight. And actually what's happened is a culmination of a few pounds here, a few pounds there, and you never took it off. And then actually what happens is we've buried our head under the sand. And then when we do rise up and take a look at what's actually been going on, it can be very shocking because essentially we've ignored what's been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. So don't do that. Take stock of what's actually happening and get back on track faster. Listen, it's that whole thing of like, no one got fat off 1 burger. No one got fat off 1 Christmas dinner. No one got fat off 1 night out. And no one got skinny off 1 salad or a bit of fruit or some yogurt. Your body, the way it looks right now, is a culmination of your habits, your standards, your routines over a course of time. And so if you simply just swallow that amnesia pill, get back on track faster, and rack up those small wins to make sure that you're being consistent rather than being perfect, and you're hitting more than you miss, then I promise you, your physique will change in 2024. Number 3 is making sure that we are actually held to a higher standard than we hold ourselves. Accountability, as you've heard, is the glue which binds the commitment to the actual results. It's all well and good saying that you're going to do 1, 2, 3 things. It's all well and good making promises to yourself, But ultimately, if there is no one there to hold you to a higher standard than you're currently holding yourself and to hold your feet to the fire of doing the things in which you don't really want to do, long after the feelings of wanting to do that has now left you because the motivation's gone, the pain is gone, and you're busy focused on life and what have you, then ultimately it's very easy to let yourself off the hook. How easy is it to not do something, to not follow through on something when you've actually told no one about it? There's no one to check up on you and be like, hey, have you done the things in which you said you were going to do? What's going on? Even though that can feel very uncomfortable, that is often the reason why that people are successful versus people who are not. It is an uncomfortable paradigm, but it is one which will move you forward because you're going to have to do so even in the days, weeks, and months in which you would really rather not, and you'd really rather let yourself off the hook, because ultimately we're after a long-term result, not just a short-term one. And that's where that accountability comes in, to make sure that you're doing the do even when you don't want to, for those incredible results. And number 4, you've certainly heard this before, but you need to understand that the beauty and the real enjoyment in this whole thing is in the process rather than the destination. And hear me out, because you might be saying that I don't care about the process. I just want my abs. I just want to look good. I just want to look good for the beach. I just want the confidence. I just want the wearing the shirt size I want to wear, whatever it may be. That is all good. But guess what? If I click my fingers and wave my magic wand and that happens straight away without the struggle, the know how to get there, the wrong turns, the getting back on track, falling off track, whatever it may be, you are not going to know how to maintain that result. Why do you think a ridiculous proportion and percentage of all lottery winners end up broke within the 4 years in which they became billionaires? It is because someone has basically done that with their finances and they have no idea how they got there in the first place. And therefore they have no habits, they have no upgraded standards, and essentially they just fall back into self-sabotaging ways and the money goes. It's the same thing with your physique. So although it's really annoying when you do have slip-ups, when you do have socials that throw you off track, or you have an injury or just a couple of months of just really don't want to go to the gym, whatever it may be, that is teaching you something along the way. And if you can master that, I guarantee you when you get to the top, when you get to the top of the mountain and you realize that you are the shirt size, you are the confidence level, you are the body fat percentage in which you want to be, the beauty really is in the journey and the process and the actions that you took to get there, and the proof that you're the sort of person that can get shit done rather than someone who can't, because you build so much confidence and trust with yourself by doing the do and nailing the days on the days in which you'd really rather not. That has so much positive downstream effect into every other area of your life, and that cannot be given to you. That is something which you have to earn, and it's something which when you get, just has so much downstream effect, as I say. And then lastly, and especially if you do actually have quite a long way to go, you really need to make sure that you are celebrating those small wins along the way. You're celebrating those milestones. Look, when I onboard a new client inside 23 Lean, they are crystal clear, not only on their goals, because obviously we talked about them, but what I expect of them by when. We've got certain check marks, we've got certain points along the journey so that they know where they should be within 30, 60, 90, 6 months, a year down the track, and we can make sure they are there, and we're celebrating that progress along the way. Because if you don't, you'll get bored. And if you get bored, you get complacent. If you get complacent, you don't end up doing the do. You don't end up doing the do, then we get all the negatives of the journey in terms of the hunger, the food focus, the lethargy, the feelings of dieting potentially, but you don't actually get the results because you're not being compliant enough to see that happen. However, if you can stop to smell the roses, solidify progress, and celebrate those small wins along the way, I guarantee you that it will fuel the next glass ceiling, which you're going to have to break to get to that next level. But if you're constantly raising the bar without actually acknowledging just how far you've come and really celebrating that process, then it's a long-winded journey. It's something which you're going to get bored of. And ultimately, this is now something which is not going to have the legs and longevity which is needed for those long-term results. So listen, this is now not a case of eat this magic food or here's a magic ratio of carbohydrates and fats. These are mindset shifts and paradigm changes, which if you have in 2024, really will put you ahead of 90% of people in front of you. Now, if you are looking for that extra accountability, support, education, community, customization, all that good stuff, and you're sort of thinking about your future self in January in terms of, right, I might need a coach to really amplify my results and hold my feet to the fire and just really stop messing about, then we are launching a brand spanking new coaching program, SL Slice. You might have seen it inside Instagram, what have you, but essentially that's going to be running early February, and the early bird list is out right now to get first access as to what the program entails, how it all works, and indeed a 35% discount, because I'm fully aware that January is a long old month, it's a rough month, and you're probably going to want to make a change, you're probably going to want to move yourself forward, but you might not have the funds or the backing to do so in terms of a one-to-one coaching spot. But this is now something which is going to bridge the gap between, again, you saying you're going to do the do and that action. So group coaching, SL Slice, put your name down on the early bird. You're not signing up to anything, you're literally just signing up for more information and a discount code when we do launch in February 2024. If you want to chat to me in between that, I'll be on Instagram at Sharif Lawton, and I'll see you in the next video.